Have you ever wondered why places like Alabama and the South are so poor? At one point, Alabama and Mississippi were the wealthiest place in the entire world, but that wealth was gained by exploiting other people. But when it was left up to them to decide their own future, and it was each individual who had to work with their own hands to become wealthy, Mississippi and Alabama became the shame of America. As all the other states grew and became wealthy and prosperous, Alabama and Mississippi have refused to incorporate economically. So how do you go from being the wealthiest place on earth to being the poorest? That is what we're going to find out on today's video. The region is called the Black Belt because the dirt here is some of the most productive dirt that humankind has ever discovered. So in theory, agriculture should thrive in Alabama and Mississippi, but in both states, it's completely dead. The climate is almost perfect with mild winters. Everything would indicate that this part of the country should be the fastest growing and most prosperous region. However, it's the complete opposite. Not only do the locals not do anything with themselves, but if an outsider were to move to this part of the country and try to be successful, chances are they would get ran out. All the conditions exist for prosperity, which raises the question, why do people in this part of the country want to be poor? Imagine living in a place full of hate and misery, lazy, murderous, uneducated. These people somehow think that they're better than other people. Dr. Martin Luther King described the people of Alabama as savages. Enter Alabama's Black Belt, one of the most miserable and dangerous places where your life is worth nothing, and the people that kill you are going to be the ones assigned to look for your body. If there's one place in the United States that embodies hate, that word is synonymous with Alabama. Always asking for a handout, always complaining about their lot in life, but never doing anything productive to change their detestable living conditions. When you combine all metrics of health, Southern Alabama has the lowest life expectancy of anywhere in the United States. Living in this crap hole will shave 10 years off every single person's life expectancy. The homicide rate for Alabama is 16 people per every 100,000 for the entire state. The homicide rate in the state of Alabama is 2 times higher than the city of Los Angeles. The state of Alabama is a racist state, and they have been choking the African American region of resources, education, investments, and anything they can to ensure that black people in Alabama fail. How can a place designed to fail thrive? The black people say they refuse to work because the white man might remember the days of slavery. And the white man says, if the black man's not working, why should I? I'm better than him. If he's not going to work, neither am I. And thus, nobody in Alabama works and nobody engages in anything productive. Their minds are filled with turd. Their hearts are filled with hate. Their hands barely work. Their mouths speak lies and their eyes are envious. When they open their mouths, you can feel the hate and contempt that they have for other people. Despite the fact that they're the ones living in America's most hateful place, they find the nerve to call other people hateful. A completely delusional mindset. Many of the black people living in Alabama's Black Belt are still today segregationist. If there's one thing that Alabama's white and black population can agree on, they both would like to return to the days of segregation, and both black and white Alabamians will tell you that things were better in the 60s because races were separate. While most of the world and the United States is looking towards the future, Alabama wants to return to the past. Imagine a place where the cemeteries of yesterday are well kept and groomed, while the schools don't even have air conditioners. That is the mindset that the people of Alabama have. They care more about their past than they do about their future. Today, the African American youth from the Black Belt is moving to other places like Atlanta or Huntsville to get away from the grasp of this miserable place known as the Black Belt. Nature has tried to destroy this place with horrible hurricanes and tornadoes time and time again, but they are like bedbugs that refuse to let go of a dirty couch. These people do not love themselves, so how could they love other people? The notion of self-respect is a long-lost theory. People are unhygienic, they're filthy, they burn tampons in their fire pits, chemicals, toilet paper, anything disgusting, they put it in their fire pit and burn it, and then they sit around the fire to soak up the stench. When you enter this part of Alabama, the radio stations all of a sudden become full of religious radio. When you're in Atlanta, you can hear music. When you're in Louisiana, you can hear music. The moment that you enter Alabama, every radio station is nothing but a mix of religious and political propaganda to brainwash these people. These people haven't left their state. All the media they've heard, all the radio they've heard, everything that's been put into their brain has been put into the brain of these people by the same people who control them. They have a limited and distorted view of the outside world. These people don't travel. These people don't get to see what's really going on in the world around them. All they know is their simple-minded world controlled by the few and limited sources of media that exist here. Montgomery is the largest city in the Black Belt. Recently, it clocked a homicide rate of 43 per 100,000. To the north and just outside of the Black Belt is Birmingham. Birmingham's murder rate is the highest in the United States at 77 per 100,000. Across the border in Mississippi, Jackson is also one of the most murderous cities in America. There's no other way to phrase it than this is the most dangerous region of the United States, where your life is literally worth nothing. If you walk into a restaurant to have a meal and you are the wrong color, perhaps you will not even have your food served to you. If they do serve your food, they'll purposely take a very long time. When your food finally arrives, they've purposely made it wrong to ensure that you understand that you're not welcome there again. If their own houses are filthy and disgusting, how will they cater to the needs of passing tourists? Hotels are known to be bedbug ridden, the bed sheets are rarely changed, and these are in newer facilities. In Prattville, Alabama, the average time to have a drive-thru at, let's say, a Starbucks can take upwards of 45 minutes. While the employees are outside smoking and laughing and having a good time, the people in the drive-thru waiting for their meals could easily spend an hour waiting for a simple coffee, an operation that normally takes less than 5 minutes anywhere else in the United States can easily take the people of Alabama upwards of an hour. They simply do not care about other people. They don't care about working. They're lazy. They drag their feet on purpose. Anything they can do to cast their hate and misery upon other people. Sometimes people passing through this region think that it's a carefree and worry-free lifestyle where the pressures of modern life don't exist. But after living in this area for over a year, I realized that the reality is that the people here simply do not care about other people. And again, how could they care about others when they don't even care about themselves? When most people think about Selma, Alabama, they think about the civil rights movement. However, despite this being an iconic place for African American heritage, the city today lies in complete ruins. A city that should in theory signify the birthplace of civil rights looks more like the death place. Today, many YouTubers with large subscriber bases are touring Alabama and exploring hate, racism, and the state's past. These YouTubers are naive and they don't understand the reality of what they're looking at in Alabama. They believe that old story of poor American rural poverty. The reason poverty exists in rural America isn't because there's no investments or lack of opportunity. The reason poverty exists in rural America is because the people are lazy, entitled, and want everything handed to them. I'm not like these YouTubers who buy into this whole story of rural American poverty. The reason rural America is poor is because they're a bunch of lazy drug addicts who want everything handed to them. Take the state of Alabama or West Virginia. These states are impoverished. The state of West Virginia, for example, has the highest drug overdose death rate of any state in America and of anywhere in the entire world. West Virginia currently has an overdose death rate of nearly 90 per 100,000, the highest in the entire world. If you were to grab, let's say, 3 or 4 million Guatemalans and let them have the state of Alabama, in 5 years, it would be an average state in America with normal income stats, lower overdose death rates. The state's population and their economy would start to grow. Instead of stagnant towns with dying populations, you would see thriving new cities growing towards the sky. Whether it's white like West Virginia or black like Alabama, the story remains the same. This whole sob story about rural poverty in America, dying towns losing population, businesses boarded up, houses falling apart, isn't because they're not given opportunities. It's because these people don't want to work for anything. All of the hardworking people today live in large cities. I lived in rural Alabama, in an area that everybody thinks is starving and full of poverty because there's no opportunities. Despite the fact I'm not from there, it was a place I just randomly arrived to, I did great economically. Dude, it's not that there's no opportunity in these places in Alabama. It's that the people are freaking lazy. They don't put in any freaking effort. And then they want to cry and ask for a handout. Even though they have opportunities, they just don't take advantage of them. Alabama is the easiest place in America to be self-employed. There's literally no regulation on anything. If you want to work in Alabama, you can become a millionaire. Are they going to take advantage of it? No, they're going to ask for a handout because they're people from Alabama. When I see these pathetic YouTubers from other states go to Alabama and make these videos of sob stories about tornadoes and rural poor poverty in America, it is hard for me to watch because I live there and there's no excuse for these people's behavior. They are simply lazy, full of hate, unproductive. They're lazy piece of crap people who don't want to get their crap together. Yet all these YouTubers go to Alabama and make videos about rural poor America, despite the fact that I lived in that place and I was very economically successful, and I wasn't even that focused on my economy. I was actually exploring the place. In other words, I was able to make money in Alabama, taking it easy. There's no reason for these people to be starving. They're simply lazy. They don't want to work. They're used to handouts. Society is a place not of what you can take, but of what you can give. And the people in the Black Belt of Alabama, all they see is what can they take from society. Even the smallest rural towns in Alabama have free or subsidized government housing. Other places in America, we're paying $1,800 to rent a one-bedroom apartment. People in Alabama don't have to worry about the rent because they're getting Section 8 free government housing or heavily subsidized housing. There are still places in rural Alabama where you can rent a single-wide mobile home with 3 bedrooms for $500 or $600 a month. What are these people crying and complaining about? They have the easiest picture of anybody in America. Nobody in America has an easier situation than the people of Alabama. And despite the fact that they have the easiest economical package, they have no government restrictions on business, they have affordable housing, they want to cry about how hard life is in rural America. You know where life is really freaking hard? Here in South Florida, where we're getting paid less than you are in Alabama and our rents are higher. But you don't hear us crying and whining, asking for a handout. You see us working 2 and 3 jobs to figure it out. These people are still trying to live out the hate of the past. They're trying to live in a past world that's long gone. They care more about the sentiment and hate of dead people than they do about the future of their children. And they absolutely hate outsiders. When we move to these places, start businesses, buy houses, and live a decent life next to them still in misery, it highlights that their failures are their own. And they absolutely hate it when somebody like myself or you moves to Alabama to be successful, because it simply highlights that they're full of crap. That is the Alabama Black Belt. The reason this place is dying is not because there's no opportunity. It's because the people here don't know how to take advantage of their opportunities. They're more focused on racism and hate than they are about getting a job. One of the biggest mistakes or misconceptions that outsiders have about the Deep South, in particular the state of Alabama, is that there's little economical entrance. Many times customers do walk through the door, but they don't care about money. See, in the rest of society, in New York, Los Angeles, Miami, anywhere in America, we care about the dollar bill. But the color green doesn't matter to the people of Alabama. These people would rather lose green because they're more focused on black and white. If you've ever watched the movie The Django, you'll get the idea. It's very accurately depicted on the mindset of the American Southerner. They don't care so much about the dollar amount that they can make. They care about continuing and prolifically advancing the needs of their ideology, an ideology that has been lost to time and failed the test of time itself. Just like in the movie The Django, sometimes we think that we can buy these people with money, but they cannot be bought with money. They have the opportunity to make money, and they pass up on it because that is not their main focus. There'll be a business that's dying and starving for customers, and if a customer walks through the door and they're not the right race, they won't take care of that customer. They don't care about their families being well fed. They don't care about housing their families. They don't care about having money so they can help somebody in need. They first predominantly care about their hate for society. Their hate for other races predetermines anything else that they do. And I know that is hard for the rest of us in society to understand, but the people of Alabama are against prosperity, because prosperity means change. Diversity, equality, and prosperity is a package, and they have predetermined that they don't want part of that package. Thus, anything that's prosperous is going to bring change, it's going to bring diversity, and they stand against that. And that is why the people in the South are always going to be poor, because they purposely want poverty, because that poverty is what ensures that they can continue to hold on to their ideologies that are failed, and that the rest of society isn't going to agree with them on this topic. So the answer to our question of why is the Black Belt, the Deep South, particularly Alabama and Mississippi, so poor, the answer is that the people that live here want to be poor. They want to keep out others who have the idea to come here to be prosperous. They want to make sure that the idea of a post-slavery world is a failure. Things were great when slavery existed. Now that slavery doesn't exist, the world is just horrible and this will never function. They want to convince the rest of America that we all need to go back to the days of slavery. And many of the black people would at least want to go back to the days of segregation. Black and white, they're not on the same team, but they're playing the same game. A lot of people have moved to Alabama and Mississippi to try to be prosperous, and they were prevented. These people are not concerned with the future, they're concerned with the past. And as long as they have this backwards mentality, they're going to ensure that their states change as little as possible so they can reconstruct the days of slavery and the days of gone past and be as close to the past as they can and as far away from the future. And that is why what was once the richest region in the world is now the poorest region in the richest country. And this is exactly the way they want it.